Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joey, CEO of Meteoric Studios and the host of Central Florida Thrive. So today is Career Coach Q&A plus Power Interviewing, part 3 of our Job Seeker series. So before we get started, as a board member of the East Orlando Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to thank our trustees, Advent Health, Avalon Park Group, Avalon Insurance, Duke Energy, Fairwinds Credit Union, Great Florida Insurance, Orlando Health, Southern Land Reserve, and the Orlando Law Group. So, as you know, this is a special presentation with Orlando Jobs. Roger Lear is bringing 2 special guests, Shannon Rollins and Lisa Maile. The East Orlando Chamber of Commerce and Central Florida Thrive have a common goal to provide education and resources to you and our members by providing valuable content that you can use today. So, take a second, click that share link. Remember, this is an interactive presentation, so ask questions when you want, and we will try to get to them while we're live. If we can't get to them while we're live, we will be checking the chat and answering them afterwards. So I'd like to bring on Andrew Cole from the East Orlando Chamber of Commerce, CEO and President. How are you? Good. So here we go.
Yes, once again, this is what third one in a series that we're doing with Roger Lear here. It's been a wonderful ride and a lot of information that has been disseminated out to the community. The East Orlando Chamber is proud to partner with Orlando Jobs and Roger, and also you with Thrive and Meteoric to make sure that we're putting this out together to really help everybody in the community that is there and our businesses. You know, the East Orlando Chamber, we do cover that 440 square miles, basically all of east side of the Orange County. So with that, I want to just go ahead and get in and hear what Roger has to say today. So without that, but Joey, thank you again for hosting us here and putting this pleasure on.
And here's Roger. How's it going?
Oh. Hey. Good morning, good afternoon, or I guess it's Friday and it's 2:00, and here we are today. So it's great.
That's good. We're ready to get started. We helped over 1,000 people last week, so I'm excited to see what we do this week. So we've got a lot of information coming up over the next hour. I'm gonna disappear and let Roger take over.
Yep. See ya. We'll catch up at the end.
Right.
All righty.
Thanks, Roger, and glad to have you here again. Yeah. We really appreciate all that you're doing.
Fantastic, and I'd like to bring in our first guest today, Shannon Rollins, and welcome her to the program. Shannon, how are you today?
Afternoon, a little hot, but I'm doing great. Thanks.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
We are so lucky to have you today, and just for everyone out there, Shannon is a career and life coach with Live Well Page Center and life coaching in Orlando. She has her own business, and really the things that she does in the community are amazing with individuals. But she's a master certified life coach, a certified career coach, and a certified health coach. And her main passion is just helping people break through their limited or unlimited potential to find inner happiness where they are now by finding and maintaining the work they are proud of. And in these COVID times, Shannon, this is an amazing time for what you do and to be able to share a lot of that stuff with our audience today.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it and addressing, since I do life coaching and career coaching, I really wanted to bring it together and address the emotional side of things right now. And let's just get the big elephant in the room out of the way and really start addressing those things that we're all thinking and it's just not being talked about enough. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, when you see the news and all you hear about is unemployment, in Central Florida, where we have over 150,000 people out of work right now, just sitting out there and so forth. You hear about jobs, you hear about all that stuff. What we're not hearing about is the emotional side of it, the anxiety through a job search and all those types of things. And I'm just so pleased that you're going to present a lot of stuff for our job seekers today to help get through that. Once you're done, we're going to bring on Lisa Maile, and we're going to go through how to present yourself the best way as soon as Shannon's done. But Shannon, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see it.
We sure will. And you are up and rocking and rolling.
Awesome.
And if anybody has any questions, just type them in there, and we'll certainly try to get to those towards the end of her presentation, as well as at the end of Lisa's presentation as well.
All right. Well, thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started. I really wanted to address a job search during uncertain times because, like I said before, let's just address the big elephant in the room. These times right now are very scary, and it's a valid reason that they are. But I want to provide some tools that you can use to kind of reframe your thoughts so you're going into a job search on the right foot. You're starting on the right foot, or if you've already been in a job search, you continue to stay motivated and stay the course and be laser focused on it. So Roger already gave an overview of who I am, but just to give you a little more information about me, I am located in Lake Nona. And the reason I decided to get into a career in life coaching to begin with is because I used to work in corporate wellness. And when I was working on site at about 25 different companies, I would talk to the employees about their issues at work. And so that's what kind of sparked this within me. And so I'm really looking forward to sharing all this information, what I've gathered over the years with you today. And what we're really going to cover is just a brief overview of how anxiety can affect your job search. Now, some of you might be struggling with anxiety right now, and some of you might be struggling with a stress response, and those are a little different. Stress is more of a shortened response, and anxiety is more of that long-term, can't sleep. All you're thinking about is that you don't have a job or that there is a financial situation that you're going through, and that's when more of that anxiety and even depression can start flaring up as well. And then from there, we're going to go into the 5 mistakes that I have seen personally, that I've seen online with LinkedIn, that I've seen recruiters make comments about, that job seekers are making right now. So the first thing I want to ask you is, are you letting scarcity drive your job search? And what I mean by scarcity is there are 2 different types of mindsets. You have an abundance mindset where you could be thinking something like, man, there are so many jobs out there. But given everything going on right now and kind of how Roger was talking about the amount of job positions that have gotten smaller even, you might be leaning on the scarcity side of things where you think, man, there's not enough. And if you're letting that mindset kind of drive your decisions and your job search, then it could be pretty detrimental in terms of either the quality of the job search you're facing or the interviews that you're going through. And Lisa will do a wonderful job at going over the interview portion. Or even it might cause you to be so demotivated that you just don't want to search for jobs right now. So let's just break through that for a moment, because a stress response is manifested by a full story you're telling yourself. If you're experiencing stress or anxiety right now, it's because of a threat. A threat is happening to you, and your brain is responding because your brain is trying to protect you. So we have to give our brains a pat on the back, right? That they're doing their job, but at the same time, it could do us a disservice. So if you're looking at your life right now, just in the picture of how your job search is, and you might be thinking of the worst case scenario, you might be thinking in your head, man, there might not be a job that's available for me. And so I don't know what to do because only essential workers are being hired, and the one job isn't hiring anymore that I was really searching for. These are true problems that you all could potentially or are facing right now. So you might have told yourself a story of there's not enough jobs out there. And so you might have a different response, and you might even jump to the end of your assumption and think, man, I'm never going to get a job. I'm here to tell you that this will end. Eventually, this will end. And this is not forever. But when you're creating this story of the worst case scenario, then you aren't going to be going into a job search with positive energy. You're not going to be going into a job search with confidence. You're not going to be interviewing with as much confidence either. So being able to flip the script on how you're looking at your frame of mind when you're searching for jobs and when you're actually in the interview process as well. And I'm going to tell you this, some of you might like it, some of you might hate it after this, but if you're already going in the job search thinking there are no jobs out there, you're going to prove yourself right. You absolutely are going to prove yourself right. And here is why, because our thoughts, if you think about it, every single thought that you've ever had before has turned into something. It's turned into either a behavior, a reaction, it's turned into something great. I mean, think of everything that's been invented in the world. It was always invented, it always started with a thought. The light bulb started with a thought. And so when you're thinking, thoughts are things which turn into actions, which turn into results. And this could just be another more, I guess, in-stand thing to say with manifestation is what other people call it. But just to reframe and just to show you how this works, your thought could be, there are no jobs out there for me. The action to that might be, it might not, maybe not you, but it could be not as much quality in your applications. Maybe you won't apply to jobs that you're qualified for because you assume that you probably won't get it. Maybe you assume there's tons of candidates standing in line. You won't look in the right places maybe, or you won't be committed to your search. So the results of that is you might have a more difficult time securing a job. If you have those types of thoughts, turns into actions, turns into results. So the key is to stay committed and stay on course. Now, if we're looking at a reframed thought, a thought that might turn into a positive result is, okay, yeah, big elephant in the room, there's a pandemic. That's your thought. But this is an opportunity for you to capitalize on your skills, possibly acquire new skills, possibly look out there and say, what have I always been interested in doing, but I've never done because I was so busy before and I didn't really have time to look at it. Maybe I can just take a free class, acquire a new skill, do something like that. I'm committed to making my desires a reality. That is your new reframe. That's your new affirmation to wake up with every day. You're committed to making your desires a reality. The action could be that you have a full commitment to your job search, your self-development, and your positive energy. And when you're bringing all of that together and your ability to learn new things, recruiters, hiring managers will feel that with you. It is more, we're emotional beings. We are very emotional humans. And whether we like it or not, we respond to other people's energy. We respond to what other people are giving off. So if you're going in and you're like, man, this is, you know what? This is a cruddy situation. I'm out of a job. But if you're going into this job search, and I mean, even when you're researching things, even when you're going online and applying, when you're just searching, when you're doing a phone interview, a Skype interview, eventually an in-person interview, once we're able to do that again, then they're going to feel that. That positive vibe is going to be felt. And so you could potentially find a great opportunity for yourself. In addition to that, you're going to have a clear mind. You're going to make clear decisions. Because if you're feeling really down on yourself in this situation, then you might be looking at a job and be like, man, I just don't have the energy to fill out another application that's 10 pages long. Am I right? So when you're going through this, really, really focus on reframing. And I'll give you one big tip at the very end on a good way to do this before you're going into a job search. But I want to tell you right now that this circumstance, everything going on right now, this is meant to build up resiliency in you. This is meant to teach you lessons, and this is meant to help you grow. So 5 years from now, 10 years from now, for all we know, you could have gone into a whole separate line of career or eventually found one that you like for yourself. And you're like, man, I remember that time when COVID happened and I was out of a job and I was feeling really bad about it, but man, that shaped me to who I am today. And now I can help others do the same thing. So make sure that you know that everything is working for you. It's not working to you. And I know it's easy for me to say right now, but I promise you, in every type of, I call it cruddy situations, in every type of cruddy situation, things are working in your favor, I promise. But now we are going to get into the main mistakes that I have seen job seekers make pretty much since COVID. And some of them have been mistakes from before. Mistake number one, coming off as desperate. So what I mean by that is I've heard from recruiters saying that job seekers might reach out to them and say, man, I'm willing to take a pay cut. I'm willing to work all hours and work overtime and not get paid for overtime. So when you are coming off as, quote, desperate, that's what recruiters or hiring managers could see from you. And when that's happening, I want you to focus on, take yourself out of the scarcity, focus on the abundance, focus on being grateful for that potential opportunity, and number one, the value that you bring, because you have a gift and you have something that you can bring to that job. So if you are really focusing on the things that you can bring to them, they are going to see that and intuitively feel like you're not begging, quote, begging for that opportunity. So just know where you stand, know the value that you're bringing, and that is going to make a difference. Don't offer pay cuts when you're in the hiring process, because for all you know, that company could actually be doing well, not really be affected by COVID, and then you already sold yourself short in the process. So keep your value up, know what you have to bring to the table. Number two, assuming that essential jobs are the only ones available. So some of the latest LinkedIn research says, I believe jobs in healthcare did spike by 35, maybe 40% or so, a large amount, but there still are other jobs available out there. So don't be afraid to go into LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to go online and search things that are still in your field, because you're going to have a leg up of something that you still have the skills in. And to be completely honest, a lot of those healthcare jobs are actually entry-level positions. So if you've been thinking of going in healthcare, it could be a positive thing for you as well, because some of the entry-level ones, all you need for skills and entry-level type jobs, yeah, you might need certificates or degree or whatever the case is. Make sure you meet those when you're applying. But at the same time, you just need to be able to learn. That's all it is. Just learn and be able to be coachable. That's what managers want to see, that you want to learn, you're eager to learn, and you work hard, and you know your value, That's number one as well. And then number three, quantity over quality. Now, this is one that I see all the time without COVID even. For this one, what I do recommend is that you probably make a master resume with all your skills, qualifications, work experience, and then tweak it based on the position. So when you're making that master resume, make it a little more specific to whatever job that you're applying to. Because some of the other feedback I've been hearing is that candidates are applying to multiple jobs in one company. And if there's one recruiter, for example, and they're getting all of those positions in one company, they might say, man, this person's not really serious about this specific position, because they're applying to every single job that's within that company. So keep that in mind. Just make sure when you're applying for a job, you're crossing your T's, dotting your I's, you're putting really good quality into that resume, the keywords into that resume as well, so that will get picked up. Fourth mistake, assuming networking is dead. It is not dead. Networking is very alive. LinkedIn, Meetup, Eventbrite are great networking platforms. Remember, networking doesn't just mean going to a job fair. Networking means that you're going to an event up the road, because anyone that's in your circle could potentially down the road help you get a job. Your friend's friend could help you get a job. So the best way to network is to nurture the relationships around you now, and then nurture new relationships. So whenever you're able to join networking meetups or networking groups virtually, then do so. And most of them are free right now. A lot of them are free. So just get to know people, get to know what they do, who they are. And then you can kind of pick out, man, what do I really want to do? What am I moving towards? And whatever area that you want to work in, whatever industry, make sure that you're networking in those areas as well. Now, this is more of a organic style search, but the majority of people who find jobs find them through friends, family, or old colleagues. So keep that in mind. Keep your network strong. If you don't have a network, that's okay. Just build it up as you go. And number 5, which is my favorite, stop beating yourself up. Give yourself grace. If you're feeling demotivated right now, I want you to know that that's normal. Our stress response is high, an anxiety type response is high because there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot at stake, and this has been emotionally taxing on everyone. So I feel you, but if you're feeling demotivated, if you're feeling like you just don't want to do it, I just want to ensure you that it's normal, and just focus on making small, achievable goals, just little itty bitty goals every single day. Just every day have one small goal towards your job search, because that's going to make a difference. Just give yourself grace in this process and commit to feeling as good as you can in this process. So stop beating yourself up. And don't allow anxiety to drive your job search, because ultimately, this was the one tip I told you to stay for. Gratitude is the best way to feel abundant and at peace during this time now. So some things that you can do for that is to, in the morning, write down a couple things that you're grateful for. And that's going to make such a big difference for you. And then also asking yourself, what are some small steps that you can take now towards improving things based on what we've talked about so far. And I did talk kind of fast because I wanted to ensure that we would get through it. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you are really focusing on that job search, if you're really focusing on the abundance and just feeling good in this process, then it's going to make all of the difference. Leverage your resources around you. Make sure that you are being resourceful. If you don't have the answers, it's okay. Go find someone who knows the answers. If you don't really know the best circle to network with, that's okay. You can go Google or find the answers of the circle that you need to start networking with, and really leverage those online resources, LinkedIn, leverage Lisa when she comes on. And the fact that you're watching this right now tells me that you are so committed already. So thank you. And Roger, I think we're good for any type of Q&A. I know I went a little over. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. Hey, on your, do you have a contact slide that you could share very quickly so our audience can see, or tell them how they could email you or get in touch with you?
Yes. So I can I write in the chat box? I don't know.
I don't think there's a presenter you can, but no, I appreciate if you have a slide, or we can put it on the post stuff as well. Your contact information.
Sure. Yeah, and if you want to go on, I send out weekly life and career tips. It's based towards every area of your life essentially, but you can text wellness to 66866 to go on that email list. And then that's probably the best way. And then also you can find me on LinkedIn and on Instagram at Live Well Solutions.
Excellent.
So,
Hey, I had, you brought up some great points, and one of the things that I think is just it goes towards the negativity of applying to jobs and never hearing back.
Yep.
And when we're out of work, there's a limited number of jobs, and you're applying to all these jobs. The chances now are even, think about all the people applying to these jobs and so forth. What are you telling job seekers about? Could you go a little bit more on the quality of the job posting versus just applying to anything that moves?
Yeah, and this actually pertains to when I used to work for corporate as well. When I say quality, aside from the keywords in the resume, I also mean to try to leverage. I think LinkedIn is a wonderful tool, and many people get hired off LinkedIn. If you're listening and you don't have a LinkedIn I know, Roger, I think you went over LinkedIn before, right? But if you don't have a profile, create one and start. Even if you cannot connect with the recruiter, because not all of them accept connections, or if you don't have that premium level membership of LinkedIn, at least start connecting with those who would be in that circular realm and start to get to know people. So with quality, it comes with also building relationships in that type of job. And then also always write a cover letter, always. And make sure that it's tailored towards that position. So an example of not quality would be having your general resume on Indeed, for example, and then just hitting apply. You know how it automatically saves and just hitting apply to every single job that's on there that's available. So make sure that you're putting more thought into it and that you're really intentional. And then also after you apply, try to find the person to follow up with, whether it be, and sometimes it's a little difficult because they don't share it as much, but through email or through LinkedIn. Because if you do it first, they will send it back and say, you have to apply here. But if you're saying, hey, I've already applied to this position, can you help me? Or when you say I've already applied to this position, I really think it's a great fit for me. Can we meet up and chat about XYZ, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the viewers, Susan, asked, if you don't hear back from the employer, is there a certain protocol that you go to network back? Can you email that person? Or, what would you even say in that email?
Yeah,
and what's your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. I would give a little bit of time. The other thing that I want to note too is that regardless if there's not as many positions available or the companies are on pause, the HR managers and the people who are in the hiring realm that I talk to are extremely busy because they've had to transition positions to remote. And that I can tell you in its own, I've heard is a nightmare. It was for many companies who were never remote before. They've all had to transition, figure out Zoom, what we're on now. So give it a little bit of time. And if you haven't heard back yet, and it's only been like 2 weeks or so, then it's okay. They're probably just bogged down, but I would follow up if it's been through either via email, and just send a follow-up email and say, hey, I have scripts too that I could also share, but you could follow up and say, hey, you said you'd get back to me at this time, whatever, and I just wanted to follow up with you and see if you are still interviewing for this position and what are next steps. Would love to get on another call with you, that type of thing. Yeah. And also the other thing I want to know, and I know Lisa will probably cover this, but at the end of every interview, always ask, what is the next steps? Always. Because there's so many people who walk away and they're really nervous and excited at the same time. And they walk out and they're like, oh crap, I don't know how long it's going to take or when they're going to tell me.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
Right, so.
Yeah. So always ask the next steps. Yep.
And then we have one last question. And for people that have just graduated, we have all these seniors graduating from high school as well as college. They're coming out in the workforce, they're applying to jobs, but they're limited on the number of jobs because they're always asking for 1 or 2 years of experience. What would you suggest to somebody like that? Because you were told that once you get a college degree or your diploma, you're good, you're gold, right? So how do you handle that?
Yeah, and I have some beef with that, to be honest, because you're kind of stuck in limbo, right? I went through the same thing, everyone. I just remember, when I graduated, they all wanted like 5 years of experience. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know how to get this, but I'm qualified. It was an entry level for 5 years of experience. The one thing I will say is if you are absolutely fit for the position, and you feel that it's a great fit for you, I wouldn't not apply if it says 5 years of experience, because I've been told by recruiters before that they just kind of put that on there. Like, I've known people who have been hired for positions who have applied in, and you were supposed to have a master's degree and they only had a bachelor's. So they put that on there, but sometimes, just sometimes, don't quote me on this, sometimes the recruiter puts the qualifications and the hiring manager, if you are a rock star, the hiring manager will push it through. If you can do the job, if you're willing to learn, if you have the skills, they'll push it through and override it. They have the ability to do that.
So excellent. Well, wow. I can't believe our half hour is already up, but thank you so much for coming on. And we'll also,
Absolutely.
I know there's some links in the chat right now to how to connect to you as well. And we look forward to potentially continuing this conversation at a later date. But this is such awesome information. And for job seekers out there, the anxiety of your job search is, I think you hit it right on the head. It's more than what it should be. And it's 100% out of your control in so many of those cases.
Yeah.
But the pressure is just it really is. It's hard to deal with. And I love how you say it. Think about 5 years down the road, how this is going to change your life and your career path potentially. I love that.
Yeah. And if anyone is struggling with stress or anxiety, I do have some guided meditations that help. They might help motivate you, pump you up a little bit. So just reach out to me if you want that information. Hopefully it'll help you out a little bit. Yeah. So thank you for having me, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And it is now time to bring on Lisa Maile. And Lisa is how long have you been in Orlando, Lisa?
Hey, Roger. Let's see. Since 1982, I've been doing coaching and personal development.
Wow, that is a long time. But for those who do, I know you're one of those few people that actually grew up in Orlando. But for those who don't know who Lisa is, she's a motivational speaker. She's an image consultant. She's a success coach. She's a stylist. She works with businesses, individuals, colleges, and her main goal is to have people learn how to project confidence and success through image and communication skills. And if there isn't a better time to do that, it's now, because of what is really happening out there in the jobs. Even when the job is open, you're going to be up against, maybe 100, 200 other people. The way you stand out is going to be really awesome. And Lisa's enjoyed working around the globe in certain things. And she's consulted 2 Miss Americas and Tara Holland and Erica Dunlap. So it is an honor to have you on today. And we're going to talk about your some power interviewing and just presenting yourself and how you can really go. And we're happy to have you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Roger. My favorite area to work in is interviewing skills, because nothing is more rewarding than helping someone get the job of their dreams. So today I'm excited to be able to share concepts that are guaranteed to give everyone a competitive edge. Some people may know that for 20 years, I owned a personal development school before I started working through Lisa Maile seminars and coaching. So not only am I talking to you today as an interview coach, but as an employer who for 2 decades interviewed and hired people. And I can tell you, everybody I've ever worked with who has used these concepts has nailed their dream job. So I promise you, even if you hate interviewing, that if you use these ideas, they will work for you to give you an advantage.
Yeah, and I can't stress to job seekers or anybody, whether it's COVID or past COVID, the competition for these jobs are tremendous. You can fly to the top of the list by the way what you're going to learn here today. So thank you, Lisa, and go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. Let's see if we can get my PowerPoint up on screen. We there? Great. Let's all agree as we start that Your interview is the ultimate first impression. So let's see if we can advance this.
Okay, go over to power interviewing.
Okay, your interview, being the ultimate first impression, takes place in less than 4 seconds. People read us in less than 4 seconds. So by the time you walk in and say, "Hi, my name is Susie Smith," or online you've said, "Hi, I'm Susie Smith and I'm so appreciative for this opportunity," they have judged you. Now, why do first impressions exist? Actually, since we're all human, we go through our lives depending on 5 senses. And the sense we trust the most is our sense of sight. People believe what they see. And that's why you have to show up at an interview. If it were simply about your experience, they could look at resumes and pick the best work history. But employers need to see who they're hiring. So they're going to look at you either virtually or in real life. It helps us to begin with analysis of real communication. Experts agree that only 10% of the way we communicate is with your words. Yet, that's what job seekers worry about the most, the smallest part. 20 to 25% of how we communicate is our voice. If it sounds upbeat and positive and confident, Shannon mentioned how important it is to be positive, especially in this negative time. They can hear that in your voice. Plus, through your voice, you give your words a positive spin. But the biggest way we communicate is through our appearance and how we present ourselves. And that's why it's smart for everyone to be practicing at home via taping themselves. So many times clients tell me, "Oh, I interviewed, I really blew it. On the way home, I thought of exactly what I wanted to say." So let's agree that doing the job and getting the job are completely different skills. That you might be very talented in your position, but if you don't interview often, it's not going to be a super confident feeling for you, because we get feeling good about things we do all the time. It's easy also to be nervous if we're not prepared. And frequently I hear from clients, "Oh, I could talk about anything, but when it comes to talking about myself, I get super nervous." So let's start with this idea. You're not there to talk about you. You are only there to talk about how you can meet their needs. You predicate everything you say on the job description. What are they looking for? Then you have to guarantee the interviewer that you can deliver that you possess all the skills. So how do you get great at interviewing? There are 2 keys: preparation and practice. I've always thought it's funny that people will practice for a game. They'll prepare for sports, but they won't practice for an interview that they could go to and it would change their life. It truly is unrealistic to think you're going to expect to come up with your most impressive answers when you haven't prepared and you're in the hot seat feeling nervous to begin with. And that's why I've always said 95% of your interview should take place before you ever even get there. That's the prep. And the more prep you have, the more practice you are, the more confident you'll be when you walk in, because you know what you're going to share with them, whether they ask or not. In fact, when I'm doing private coaching for interviewing, we, first of all, analyze success stories and accommodate and create the stories that are going to be the most impressive examples of how people possess these skills. Then we videotape and videotape and videotape, because it's impossible for the interviewers to remember everything you've said, but they're going to have a mental picture of what you looked like and how you presented yourself. So you can do this at home, practicing on your camera phones and on your computers to see exactly what the interviewer will see. And that will give you such a head start with confidence. I like this next slide because it's true. Who gets hired? It's not the people with the best experience always. The applicants who sell themselves best get the job, because this skill is all about reassuring. When what you are matches what they need, you will almost always get a second interviewer. And when you get that second interview, you have more success stories to bring in, because it's true. If you don't reassure the interviewer, then someone else will come in, reassure, and get the job. Because interviewers are not mind readers. They're only going to know what we tell them. So we have to tell them in specific language, reassurance that we have all the skills they need. And when you do that, the beautiful part is what is also required in interviewing: differentiation. How are you going to stand out when, like Roger said, there might be 200 people applying or 300 and they're interviewing 50? First of all, you want to research the company. You want to know more than anybody else knows so that it looks like you've done that preparation. Secondly, your image, the way you look, your appearance is your visual resume. They're going to remember you. You want to look your very best. Your brand should say professional, accomplished, successful, because it's easier to say it with your image and your body language than to walk in and announce how important and special you are, which will come off as arrogant. You want to look better than the average employee. So if you're unsure about appearance at the job, you can call and introduce yourself and say how happy you are to be interviewing and you'd like to see the company dress code. If possible, you could go outside and sit at 5 o'clock when people are coming out, see how the average employee dresses. It's true that everything we put on our body sends a message. So you want to make sure that all the message reinforces professionalism. Now, if you'd like more about professional image, since we have limited time today, please feel free to visit my site, lisamaileseminars.com, where we have 5 leadership branding videos that I created with the Orlando Sentinel. And one is all about the specifics of professional image. So there's lots of good information there for you. Let's talk interviewing now. Typically, my clients tell me, I hate that question that usually comes first. Tell me about yourself. In fact, I remember once years ago at my school, I asked someone whose resume was exactly what I wanted. We needed a receptionist. I said, why don't you start off by telling me about yourself? And I swear to God, her answer was, well, like my favorite band's U2, and on the weekends, I go horseback riding. By that answer, I could tell that she was not the least bit prepared for that question, nor did she set a good tone for the interview. And I'm thinking, I'm going to have some extra time today because this person isn't taking that seriously. Let's start with subtext. Subtext is when you say something, what you really mean. Like when a girl says to a significant other, we have to break up, but it isn't you. We know the subtext is, it's another person, right? So let's start by recognizing the subtext of every question that you are asked in an interview is exactly the same. They're just asking you it in a different way. The subtext is, why should I hire you? And the beautiful part about telling me about yourself is, since you know it's coming and you know it's coming up front, you can have a killer answer prepared and you can sew up your interview in that first answer. Tell me about yourself, where the answer lies in the job description. So the formula is, you make a list of everything they're looking for in the job description, and then you talk about specific examples of how you illustrate all of those traits that they need. Because if you just give words, people forget that. Who here goes grocery shopping? I bet everybody does their own. And what do we make before we go grocery shopping? You have to make a list because people forget words. So if somebody asks me in an interview, Lisa, why don't you start off by telling me about yourself? And I say, well, thanks so much for seeing me. I want you to know I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated, I'm dependable, I'm a team player, I'm flexible. You might think those sound like good words, but I just gave them to you 15 seconds ago, and even I can't remember what I said, which is the reason why you need to incorporate success stories into your interviews. What you're trying to do is paint a picture, a specific picture that the interviewers see that they can't forget. We want highly memorable stories that illustrate successes that you've had, your accomplishments in the workplace or volunteer work. Unfortunately, most candidates offer a list of very forgettable words, and that's why you want to be one step ahead of them with some great stories. Because when we talk about power interviewing, it's not just answering the questions. That's being passive. Power interviewing is actively telling them what they need to know about you so they understand you're a perfect fit for the job. It is storytelling with differentiation. And that's why a great interview is going to take 95% of your time prepping beforehand. And when you actually go to the interview, that's the icing on the cake, because you know your stories are going to be impressive and you know you feel comfortable talking about yourself. Since we don't usually do that, the practice is going to add to your confidence. Now, Shannon mentioned a great idea as well, and that is if you're interviewing for different things, your resume has to be appropriate for that different job. You wouldn't send one resume out to 5 different types of jobs, nor would you interview using the same answers for 5 different types of jobs. It's got to be geared to the position that you're interviewing for. And that little phrase, for example, you're going to use frequently because obviously you want to illustrate with reassuring stories that you can do everything they're looking for. And it's so easy to share if you've prepared it earlier. So truthfully, power interviewing is just like talking to your significant other. You never answer their questions. You just tell them what they need to know. So how can you own your interview? Well, having these hard worker stories is really going to help you with tell me about yourself. And again, the goal is to sew it up in the first question. So I would want you to have 5 to 8 specific hard worker stories that you're going to be able to share. And you may only share 1 or 2 when you respond to tell me about yourself, but obviously you can work the others in. So let me give you some examples. I once worked with a lady who wanted to be the director of a library system. And she had worked at 3 or 4 smaller libraries as a manager, and she worked at a prison where at the prison, it was her particular task to plan, develop, and open a prison library in 3 weeks. So she had to develop the policies and the procedures, follow standards, create training manuals. It was an amazing accomplishment for her. So when she went to her interview for library system director, and they asked her, tell me about yourself, she could give this great detailed answer that's at least going to be a minute and a half long. And they were so impressed at the end of that response. It was, you sound exactly like what we need. Another woman I coached who was an HR professional recognized that out of all of her job responsibilities, what she really loved doing and what was rewarding for her was working as a career coach. So she had heard about a university career coach position, a director position that was available. But again, when we worked together, she lamented that her experience was only 5 to 8% on her resume. And I said, that's okay. You've done it. You're great at it. You have a passion for it. You get excited for it. And everybody you've ever worked with has done well. So we created many different success stories about her career coaching. That's all she talked about in her interview. And she was hired as well. Another example, I worked with a young lady who was 23, I believe, who had always dreamed of working at the White House. And her entire life, she volunteered. In fact, after graduating college, she saw an opportunity to go to Guatemala and teach English for a year. And she had to raise thousands of dollars to go down there during her 9 months. And down there, she recognized that the children she was instructing were severely malnutritioned. So she started clubs for the girls and the boys to teach them about proper diet and exercise, and was so rewarded during that 9-month period. And when it was time to come home, she had dollars left that she could have pocketed, but she let the villagers share them to create better housing for them. So a great story. And when they asked her at the White House, why would you like to work here? She said, well, I'm so honored to be here because I love America. I love the freedoms that we have. And I would love to be able to give back because that has always been my passion. Let me tell you what I just came from in Guatemala. And again, the first comment that the interviewer gave her after she shared that story was, you sound exactly like the type of person we want working here in the White House. And she said, I would love to. When can I begin? And of course, after a background check, they hired her. Next up, Elvin, who you see on your screen. I had the pleasure of meeting Elvin when I was hired by the Florida Division of Blind Services to do several workshops on power interviewing and image. And Elvin was part of a 2-day workshop that we did on power interviewing. And I remember him asking me through an interpreter if you could bring your real personality into the interview. Now, I should tell you, Elvin is both deaf and blind, and these are terms that he prefers. So he asked me that question through his interpreter, and I said, of course you want to bring your real personality in. They're hiring you, and you become part of their families. They're not looking for computers. They need to see how positive and enthusiastic and upbeat you will be. So Elvin paid attention to every concept. And the very next day, he had his first interview with Walgreens for IT. And with his incredible personality, he shared all of the experience that he had in volunteer work. He had volunteered as a data entry processor with Master's Hands Deaf Ministry, which is now called Viva Deaf Ministry. And he shared several success stories through his work there. Walgreens was so impressed, they hired him on the spot. And I just spoke to Elvin because soon he will celebrate his 4-year anniversary at Walgreens, and he was just promoted. Now, Elvin's story brings up another idea. If there's anything that you feel might be a negative, you want to address it right up front. So Elvin, being deaf and blind, explained and tell me about yourself. He always had to work harder than the average person. And he also explained that anybody who is visually impaired can get special equipment through the Division of Blind Services that is given free of charge that they can take to work so that they are able to accomplish the same position anybody else can. And same thing with anybody who I've had the pleasure of coaching who, let's say, may be autistic, to be able to bring that up right in front, how extra hard you work and that you've always been successful. Lastly, on this screen, Melinda Miller, some of you might know, she was a former Miss Florida I had the pleasure of working with as a teen, who is also brilliant and obtained her PhD and had taught in Central Florida at a school on leadership in a high school, but she really wanted to work at the Air Force Academy. And to illustrate the power of these success stories, Melinda and I cooked up some great ones that she could use on the phone. And she was told she was hired out of 200 applicants, sight unseen, because of the power of reassuring success stories. So even when they can't see you, those success stories linger and are highly memorable. So let's keep in mind, the only guarantee the interviewers have of how you'll perform for them is what you've already done. And that's going to offer your most solid reassurance. So how do you get a second interview? Easy. When what you are matches what they need, it doesn't matter about your experience. What matters is you can show that you've done the job and that you'll be excited to do it for them. That's why you need confidence and energy. You know, energy gets the job done. It looks like you're excited to be part of their organization. And interestingly, many of the older applicants that I coach might say, you know, people are prejudiced when you're older. People don't want you if you're 50 plus. And I've never seen that to be true. But I will say that people won't want you if you're slow. And if you're a senior and you go in there and you're not high energy, it's so easy to be dismissed. But slow isn't just associated with age. All of us know teenagers who would sleep in bed till 4 o'clock in the afternoon if we let them. So the energy is critical. And that's why it's so important to tape yourself, because you can see the type of confidence and energy that you are illustrating. Let's get to the real power, and that's body language or kinesics. It's true that body language can say things you're not allowed to say, and it's 98% accurate. You cannot walk in, as I said earlier, and say, "Hi, this is your lucky day. I'm so successful and important," but your body language can say that. So very quickly, the important parts. Number 1 is posture. Always sit with good posture if you're interviewing virtually, and walk in with great posture like you're important. Always keep your head up. When you're walking in, if your head is down, it's a sure sign you've lost your confidence. Make sure you have strong eye contact. Now, in a live interview, I'm not suggesting you have a stare out. When it comes time to break eye contact, you look to the side and back, because if you look up or down, it signifies that you've lost your eye contact. If you're interviewing virtually, make sure you know where to look. I know on some computers, if you look right at the camera, it appears you're looking above them. So this is why the practice is so important. Number 4 here has a star, because hands are the first place we see nervousness on people. And we all have nervous energy, but you can use it or it can use you. If I fold my hands during my interview, whether I'm in person or virtually, what I'm doing is taking the nervous energy and recycling it back into my body. So I want this energy to work for me. And one way it always works for job interviewers is through gestures. Gestures help explain. If I say to you, you never believe what happened to me at my senior prom in high school. Some guy stepped on the back of my dress and tore it this much. Well, this much lets you know how red my face is. Now, what if you're a person who doesn't ordinarily gesture? You can practice and practice by watching commercials, because when you're interviewing, you're doing a commercial for you. You're trying to get someone to buy in. And the easiest gesture is to touch yourself when you say I or me. People do that in every language around the world. So if I say, I would love to come and work for you, and it would be so rewarding, ... it's going to be more impactful than if I never move. I would love to come and work for you and utilize all my skills and experience. So let's practicing the gestures, knowing that the slower you make them, the more confident you look. In fact, every movement you make must have implied intent. It has to look like you're doing it deliberately. We've all seen girls, ladies doing this with their necklaces, or people twirling their rings, or messing with their hair. Every movement must showcase intent, especially on camera where you're right up close. Then my favorite body language sign is a smile. What does a smile say? It says you're positive. It says you're excited to be there. It says you're confident. And we're talking a real smile, which is so much easier to deliver when you're talking. Because a real smile, the experts say, lasts 3 to 5 seconds. Of course, no gum ever. No gum. But since this is such a strong way for us to communicate, the strongest way, make sure you practice your smiles. I'd say 90% of everybody I work with tells me after they've practiced at home, when they're concentrating on what they want to say, they forget their body language. And the body language is critical because they're going to get a picture of you that they remember. Let's talk about virtual online interviews now. Of course, the prep is a little different. You have to make sure you eliminate all your distractions, that you create your most professional background. Check your lighting, because what if you look great and they can't see you? You want to make sure you look your professional best and the lighting is good. And that usually means not to be lit from the back. Then make sure you've practiced enough so you can maintain eye contact and practice your body language. Besides making a QuickTime movie so that you can see what your interviewer will see, practice with your friends and family, because the more you do this, the easier it is to feel comfortable when you're selling yourself online. Then make sure that you have your success stories and you are showcasing them with your smile, because if you're smiling enough, they are going to be impressed, and that's what they remember. If you notice you're smiling enough, super. If you think it's going bad, then you need to smile more. This is my favorite slide. According to HR managers across industries, when they are asked what's attractive to you in an employment interview, it's never about being handsome or being pretty. It always boils down to the appearance of confidence, how you present yourself. And we know the practice and the prep can help you deliver the confidence that is head and shoulders above everyone else. Because truly, when you're interviewing, you are selling and acting. Can't tell you how many people I coach who say to me, oh, I would never sell. I'm not a salesperson. And that's probably one reason why interviewing is challenging for many, because we do have to sell ourselves. So let's say you think you're a quiet person. If you feel like you're a quiet person, picture somebody you know and like who is outgoing and enthusiastic, because anybody can fake that for 15 minutes or a half an hour. To nail the interview, let's recap. Research the company, know more than anybody else knows. Number 2, prepare your detailed success stories that match what is required in the job description. Of course, this is going to be the most time-consuming part, because if you're a hard worker, and I know you are, or you wouldn't be watching this, we don't sit down and write out all the great things we accomplish. You have to go through the recesses of your mind to come up with your success stories that are going to match their needs, because it's all about their needs. Then, whether it's an in-person interview or virtual, practice out loud. Always practice out loud so you can hear yourself repeating the stories that you're going to share. Film yourself so that you can see what the interviewer sees. If you don't like what you see, do it again. I always recommend watching yourself with sound and then watching yourself without sound. So you're isolating your image and your body language. And you can look at your body language alone at that point. So are you smiling enough? Are you positive enough? Does it look like you're happy to be there? If you're not happy to be there the first day, why would they want you to come back? Of course, to nail the interview, you want to look your professional best, so immediately they're impressed when you walk in, and then always give them the energy and passion and smile. Roger asked me to share contact information with you. So I told you years ago I had a personal development school. I sold that school and resigned all participation there. So you can find me now at lisamaileseminars.com. And I hope you'll visit and take advantage of the leadership branding videos that I made with the Orlando Sentinel that cover all different aspects of interviewing. Those are free. Also, my email's there, lisamaile1@gmail.com, and my phone number as well, because this has been my pleasure chatting with you. And now I'd be very excited to take questions.
Oh, Lisa, thank you so much. Speak, and I think of all the interviews that I've done, and when people come in and they're just not prepared, then they're just not prepared for the interview. And just those 5 things that you put up there are super important. But smiling, knowing the company, knowing what job you're actually interviewing for, and being able to tell a success story are just amazing things. But we are over time. So what we'll do is, if anybody does have questions, we'll direct those to Lisa. We'll put your contact information in all over this thing so they can contact you now or down the road. We just can't thank you enough for bringing all this valuable information today and all you've done for the Orlando community, because I know you're involved in so many things. I don't know where you keep all the time to do it all. But
thank you, Roger. May I say one more thing?
Sure.
Piggybacking on what Shannon said, for anyone who's depressed, for anyone who doesn't feel upbeat and positive about job hunting, you can do this. This is a skill. No one is born knowing how to sell themselves. And if you take the ideas we've discussed today and you practice, tape yourself until you're happy with what you're going to deliver, since we're all our own worst critics, everyone can do this. So I wish everybody watching the very best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hey, Joey, it's been a good day, and I know you probably have some closing remarks for the chamber. Oh, it's in. Oh,
I jumped on.
Back.
I'm back. So no, thank you, Roger, for connecting us with Lisa and Shannon. That was just some really great information for everything, and we appreciate your involvement with the chamber and working with us to put this information out. And the chamber has a lot. I know we're way over, but just real quick, if you do want to know more about what's there, the recorded videos are on the EOCC website at eocc.org. You can find them through Roger. If you've got questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll direct them to anybody that's there. But we really, I can't express enough of how much we're trying to help the community here. Spread the word, share this. If you know people that are out there looking or need things, or businesses that may need assistance and things like that, the chamber is here. We're working diligently and more than, I swear, 7 days a week to get things done, to have things that are relative for your business and for you as a person in the community. So thank you so much on that. You got it. But without further ado, Joe, I guess you can sign us out. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you again. We have more planned. Just check out eocc.org for more, and we'll see you soon.